It's your boy Foolish Tool Podcast again in the building. There's no disclaimers here. This is just Foolish Tool Podcast. Whatever goes, goes. It's where free speech is explored. But and foolish talk can be heard. But other than that, we are here. My name is Foolish Tool. No, my name is Gershom, you know it. So and you have a special guest. But before she introduces herself, I'm gonna have to ask you, could you close your eyes? Please. I'm gonna have to ask you this question. You have to close your eyes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's an icebreaker.
Okay.
I had to surprise you. Why do you matter?
Because I'm a human being.
Damn, that was so straight. Now can you introduce yourself, please? Damn.
You weren't expecting that, were you?
Yeah, nah.
Hi, I'm Samra Stoner, and I don't have those big long credentials yet, but they're coming.
I think there's more to Samra than just the name.
Yeah. Like, what else would you want to know? I'm American.
Where were you born?
I was born in the great land of Ethiopia. So I'm fully Ethiopian, but culturally American.
When did you move here?
January of 2005.
Oh, nice.
Cold and nasty winter.
Wait, were you adopted or did you move here with your family?
Well, I was adopted with my biological sister, Medra Stoner.
Nice. Hey. I don't ask too much. She wanted a short introduction, I think. No, I'm just kidding. Let's go straight into it. Do you think men and women are equal?
And no.
And what do you mean by no?
Because God didn't create men and women equally.
What do you think is the role of a woman in a relationship or in marriage?
Marriage, she's supposed to have it to reproduce. And in order to reproduce, the woman is the only one that can reproduce. Mm-hmm. And that is because it's biblical, says reproduce, multiply.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to have children and raise the children, because women are nurturers, naturally. And so that's the role of the women.
Mm. When you hear the word women are to be submissive to their husband, what rolls in your head?
But what am I submitting to is first, as a woman. The issue is not submission.
Mm-hmm.
We need to clear that up.
Okay.
The issue is not that women don't want to be submissive or cannot be submissive.
No, I'm asking you why. See, the question was like, when you hear the word women are to be submissive, how do you feel?
I don't have an issue with it.
So what? Okay, now we can go on.
Because
what do you think
patriarchy and the culture likes to use the Bible against the believers and say, well, look, in the Bible it says, wife, submit to your husband. Okay, that's out of context. But what does the Bible say is the husband's job? It says the Bible says, the men, you're supposed to lead your wife. Mm-hmm. So when men are leaders in the house, women have no problems being submissive.
You really think so?
Yes, but we don't have leaders today. Men cannot lead in today's culture. So women are saying, no, I'm not submitting, or therefore women are being painted as we can't submit, or women don't want to be submissive. Like, well, why? Mm-hmm. Why? We as a society, as individuals, do not ask why. We just take, I believe, my ideals and morals are more liberal. Okay, so I'm gonna blindly follow the liberal leader, blindly follow the conservative leader. But we don't ask why. Mm-hmm. We have to, because I'm learning the power of why. I'm just saying.
Very important. It's very important.
Why do you believe that all men are created equally?
No.
Like
no, technically you can't be. You cannot be. What does it mean? Now put yourself in the shoe that you're married. Mm-hmm. What does it mean for a man to be the leader in your marriage?
Okay, he's a provider. Men are supposed to be providers. They're supposed to be the protectors and to bring security.
And what is he protecting?
The man has to bring physical protection, so the women needs to be physically safe and comfortable with him. So that's like physical protection, and obviously being the provider of the house. So financially is so that's where we get this issue of what men like to, because I'm seeing in today there are a lot of men are saying, oh, what do you women, modern women, or women who are obsessed with their self and Instagram, they're saying, what do you bring to the table? And we're like, wait a minute, but what do you bring to the table, sir? Because you are insinuating that you're bringing, like, you bring only financial contribution. That's what you are bringing, but only half, because you're not agreeing to the full financial responsibility. So there's this equation that beautifully breaks down the whole equity versus equality model to marriage. And marriage is not 50-50. Marriage is 85-15. So, like, when men saying, oh, I need you to bring in that serves you as the man, because oh, I'm bringing 50% into the income, which today most women are, because most men are working.
What do you think? Really?
Yes, but
I didn't know that stat.
No, but I'm just like, I don't have a number, like a percentage, but women are in the work. Women are more career oriented, so if they're working, they are gonna bring financial contribution.
Yeah, but also, isn't that like they say that when women are
you think like when
they're making more, they tend to go for guys also make more?
Absolutely, like because women always marry up, and specifically white women too, and yes.
Shit, to make that clear.
Just making that clear. And
so you didn't miss it.
Yes, because I'll get into the black women later, but and men, they marry down. Duh, because if you want a woman who's above you, well, that's gonna hurt your masculinity and your ego. So men always marry down.
It's not necessarily hurt.
Excuse me?
The environment won't be. It's not necessarily hurt. It's just the environment won't be stable. You need positive and negative energy in order to have a stable environment.
Okay.
So not necessarily negative energy is bad and positive energy is good. No, I'm just saying you need both. And so if you have two heads of both in like a leadership role, oh, we're gonna do this as a family, blah blah blah.
But women are not supposed to be leaders of the house.
Yeah, but once they reach a certain level of power attainment, that comes natural.
Right.
Because they're playing. So
then they're gonna need to find someone it's gonna be rare. It's gonna be
somebody who will make him feel submissive in a way naturally. Right. Because in nature, somehow the feminine energy want to submit to the masculine energy. Absolutely. Naturally. Absolutely. And so even a woman who's like, oh, I'm independent on this, she still want to.
Yes.
be submissive.
Right. But it's just like women are being leaders of the household because men are not there.
But
to lead the house.
But I feel like a lot of men are there. Obviously.
You want to go into the single motherhood?
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's touch on that a little bit. What do you think is the primary drive for single motherhood?
If now race does play into this, but like I haven't done my due diligence on the white single motherhood. I've done my due diligence on the black single motherhood. And but it's also, you don't like, yes, there are those statistics for white single mothers, but it's not like outrageously big. Yeah,
because there's other factors that plays.
Correct, because of the role of the white man in the family context. They're there. They're leading. They are providing financially, being actually pulling their weight in other ways besides just bringing the income. But you don't see that in the black family.
But why do you think is that?
Because In 1970, the single black motherhood rate was 23%. Today, it is, I don't know what this is, but it's crazy. It's.
Do you think it's higher than 50?
Oh, it's so high because
I think it's 70.
It's up there in the 70s.
Yeah.
So, but why? And this is this is the government, but the government is not an excuse, but they have a role to play in the breaking down the black family, the black nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
So, slavery did not break down the nuclear black family.
No.
Because they still
They were still doing stuff in the
right.
barns.
They were like, the slaves were still getting married. They were still creating families. So when do we see the breakdown of the nuclear black family? It is in the 40s, the 40s and 50s. So after, and that's when, because like if you ask like black grandparents or African Americans who were like raised in the 30s, like they provided without a college education, with with nothing, because they used their hard skills, and it was factories. So that's how they were able to provide for the family, and it was like amazing, perfect. They were the not sole provider, but they were able to bring that. So then the 40s and 50s is when we via the factories. So then 40s and 50s, here comes the government all across the state, shuts down these factories. Okay, that was intentional, not accidental. And so then, okay, so why are you, if you're taking away the number one occupation of the black man for him to okay, so then there's the incarceration. The incarceration started after emancipation and through vagrants' laws, because you got all these free slave, and so that's the when all of that. So then, so it's in the you shut down the main form of for the black man to provide. So then it's in the 1970s when the government steps in to provide for the black women via stamps, WIC, all of those, because now there's nobody to the black man is not in the house to provide for the child and the mother. So that's and that's been the pattern all the way through, and we have different forms of that has like continued to oppress the black man, and it's the the mass incarceration. It's the war on drugs from the 70s through the 80s through the 90s and early 2000s, and each administration of that had their role, and it's like there was no drug problem. They created a drug problem, and they planted cocaines, and they infested the black communities. It was a political agenda. The war on drug.
It was?
Yes, it was a
really
political
was.
agenda.
CIA.
Yes.
The CIA was involved.
And then here comes, mandatory minimums of the 90s. The war on drug was the 80s. Then here comes the mandatory minimums, 3 strike and you're out. And it's just like, and then the police infesting poor communities, and that, and then just like, when people are like, oh my gosh, look at the black community or the poor communities, like the crime is high. Well, I ask why? Yeah. Because people don't just like wake up and say, I'm gonna just shoot up this city. Like,
it came from somewhere.
Right. And it's like, we as a country don't do a good job of addressing the root issues. We just, now politics is about painting the other party a villain. And you see it in our commercials. It's appalling. And both parties do it to each other. And so then, and so today, so a lot of these kids being in the puts the single mother, I have to be the provider, I have to be the mother, I have to, they're fulfilling all of those roles that,
kids.
Correct. And so now these kids are being brought up by only one why you see black women as, they're independent and they can take care of them. because there was nobody the man was not there to take care of her and the kid. So now the kid is grown up without a father, and we know the statistics that does to the child, especially like the boys in the teen days. Like it's and then now today how does the government now continue to suppress the black man and continue like making the black woman like turn her head? Is like, again, the mass incarceration is still there, police brutality, that's crystal clear, and the school to prison pipeline. So easy because so actually during the 70s, when the incarceration was like really starting to increase, and so actually there was a movement that black women, it was very brief and nobody knows about it because it wasn't strong enough to make it into the history book. So it's not common knowledge that during the 70s, pre-70s, black women literally formed a movement and were protesting against the incarceration of African American men. But how did the government shut that down? They came in with their government assistance. So they literally
money.
Yes. So then they made the black women turn her head or act like, oh my gosh, here's him being X, Y, and Z. And it's just like black women don't see how they are also the victim, but theirs is covertly oppression and the black man is overtly oppressed.
That is true.
Like, so today, and it's funny because I saw this post. I know her. She went to like Madison Youth Group, and she has a kid, 3 years. I think she's 1 year younger than me, so she's 24, and she's African American. And she posted, saying that basically insinuating I'm not gonna work to my potential. I'm not gonna work hard, and she's smart, like, and because then she's like I will lose. She said a very like, the African American dialect. And swag and whatever. But so she's basically stating, and she made that very public on Facebook, saying, because then that means I'm going to lose my government assistance. No. So what has the government assistance? Like, I'm not bashing it because there is a need.
Helped, yeah.
It's a help and there's a need for it. But the government has enabled us, young generation, and the general public, because you have to, and I was talking to a customer service from Verizon, and we literally talked for 2 hours, and she's like, I'm gonna have to explain this to my manager why this 2 hours, and we literally covered all of that, and she was agreeing with the statement of like, well, the general public, and specifically single mothers, black single mothers, are not gonna rise to their potential because they're gonna lose their assistant because the government is gonna say, well, you work too much now. So the government is enabling our generation and the public to work below their potential because I'm gonna lose it and I can't do, because if I lose it, then how am I gonna support my very legitimate from their perspective. But this is where
free money is always good money. To some people think free money is always good money.
But it's just like, but you are, and it's just like I can't imagine being in their shoes. But at the same time, there's their concern, and the girl who made that post is legitimate. But it's a government and politic issue about, okay, we need to I don't know how to do it. I don't know the answer, but you need to, just like the federal minimum wage. It's like, it's outrageously crazy. Like, and I learned this in my social work policy and program class, and it's this threshold, and it's like, you have to be below it, of course, but the threshold is insane. So you have to be practically homeless.
So, talking about a black nuclear family, what do you think of when you see a black guy with a white woman?
Ooh, makes me feel type of way.
And why? How come?
Because specifically a black man with white women. because I think what a lot of these podcasters, black podcasters, are saying is, well, black men are turning to white women to marry because, well, they're more submissive, well, they're easier to date and then marry, they have a certain level of cultural like upbringing, which I was raised by a white family, so I know it.
I know. I know that too.
So I know what they want, and what they want is the cultural expectation of what it means to be a woman. It's to be feminine. It's to be like want a family and raise a family, and it doesn't mean you can't work, but they give that's very it's like they give that. And so black women, this trend of the trend of black men dating white women because of that. And the issue with black women, it's like, well, yeah, you're full of drama, you're like your standard is, your beauty standard is of Cardi B, of like that's and the Kardashian. That's absurd, because they got billions and billions of dollars to get all these surgeries to make them look like dolls. And you don't. So why do you want to look like the Kardashian and Cardi B? You don't have the money. and there's people going to, the
Miami,
Brazil and other places,
Dominican Republic,
because it's cheaper, but like it's so much more dangerous too, and there's a lot of them dying.
High risk, high rewards.
Right, but it's
risk.
It's just so false though. Where does this idea that you gotta have big butts and you have to change yourself and you gotta inject your body, women, with all these unnatural things that your body was not created to ingest, so you could adhere to this absurd beauty standard that should make you throw up. I'm sorry. Because it's just like, why? But those are the celebrities, and they're holding the beauty standard, so part of it falls on them. You are presenting this false beauty standards that is driving these young girls insane. And because, well, for society to see me beautiful, I gotta look like Cardi B, I gotta look like Kim Kardashian, so what can I do? Like, and so it's partly the celebrities. What kind of role model are they? And question, because again, they have a political agenda.
Yeah, that is true.
They do. So if you do not understand that, they're not your mother trying to give you a positive role model. So question them up there, because they absolutely have a political agenda. Ask, what is your political agenda?
They do. For me, I mean, when it comes to interracial dating, especially, coming back to that, it's...
Sorry.
No, you're good. It's... Like, put in my own personal experience. I was sure I was going to marry a white woman at some point. Like, I was 100% sure when I imagined it was always light-skinned kids, everything.
Do you think that's the cultural that you thought, like, well, I gotta marry a white woman because they're seen as more beautiful than black people, or?
Not necessarily, but I'll get to that in a sec. Give me a sec. When I was about 6 or 7, we would see Arabs and whites in where I was living in Burundi. And then one day I saw a white girl on a horse, maybe around my age. And I was like, Mom, I'll marry one of them. And my mom said, you cannot afford them. She looked at me straight in the eye and said, you cannot afford them. So in my head, I was like, I will show you, kinda. And I don't know, that kind of trouble with me. And I kind of started joking around about it. And then when I was about to went to South Africa, I used to have like a weird, it's a sore. It turned like a weird, like a pale white. And one of my cousins told me, oh, you're going to have white children. When they were from Congo, superstition stuff. And so when I was about to move to South Africa, my aunt looks at me and is like, now with your lightest complexion, because I'm lighter than my siblings, with your lighter complexion, you can get all those white women you've always wanted. So it's almost like kept on playing, and then we get to South Africa. It was more like didn't get to dating really. It was more just like, but in my head it's like I'm gonna marry a white woman. I'm gonna marry a white woman. But then as you grow older, you begin to give reasons to why.
Yep.
So as I got older, when I have to answer the question, why do you want to marry a white woman so bad? Why? One of the main reasons were, for me at that time, at least, it was where, as a young Christian, as a Christian young man, I had to go back to my country and help, and I did things for nurses, teachers, and social workers. And so when I picture a woman to go back to help me help, I could never picture myself with a black woman because I never really saw black women doing such thing like going there.
Right, because it's the white savior.
Pretty much.
The white savior complex.
So I was always picturing my wife who can always go back and she would teach while I help with businesses there. So I've always pictured a white woman.
Yeah.
But then also that's true. But also I pictured every more successful black man had a white woman, and that played the role because I once even stayed out in high school. I said, why do you want a white woman? I said, because every successful black man that's probably a white woman. And so that was my ignorance. And then one day I was speaking to a friend, and then they asked me, have you ever thought why you have that preference? I mean, we have preference because of things we love.
Yeah.
And so ever thought that why you never found preference in a black woman? What is it about her that you don't find preference in her? And I began to question my own intentions. Like, why I was a white woman? And eventually it came to the whole idea that some part of me kind of looked down on a black woman. Not necessarily as she's not pretty, she's not good enough, but that she was never going to make a good enough wife for me. Almost. Also, the other thing you talked about black motherhood is the thing is when you grow up with your mother, you see all her nonsense, all your sisters see her nonsense, and so it's easier when you leave the house and you know how, especially you go to the college or to a church that the hate majority, you know how they adore the good behaving black man. And so to my understanding, I came to realize that there was some sort of, not necessarily self-hate, but something that I could not see in the blackness. And now, if you ask me, oh man, I'm going straight to Africa to find me. Not one.
5 wives.
One is not enough. One black wife is not enough. No, I just want them all. Just want them all to myself. No,
but why? I won't go say that.
But I do. What do you think about more than a husband having more than one wife?
It's absurd.
Why?
Because the Bible created the man to have one wife.
That's not necessarily true.
But why? Why? Like, why is for the man? Why isn't one woman enough? Why do you need 5 women?
Okay. If you wanna use Bible, I can use Bible too. What was the first commandment God gave Adam and Eve?
He said that he created. Okay, when he created Adam, he said the man should not be alone. So he created Eve.
And then, what was the first commandment he gave them?
To not eat the fruit of.
Wasn't the first one be fruitful and multiply number? Which one was the first? I don't know, but be fruitful and multiply number. Let's just use that. Yeah, okay. You have one wife. You are fruitful and multiplying. While she is pregnant, I can no longer multiply. I still need to fulfill my role. You know, I still need to fulfill my role. The multiplying does not stop. So, you know.
So you're going to multiply.
So we are multiplying.
Through 5 women.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's not, nope. Not
we are
legitimate. Nope.
We are continuing that.
You literally just said because one is not enough because it's about your sexual drive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Look,
Yes.
okay. This is my 2 reasons for getting married. 2 reasons. One obviously is a safe space to have a family. Safe space. I just say safe space to have a family. Second, for economical purposes, if I want to build, I need support. Obviously, if I want to build something big, I need support. And so therefore, you know, you need your queens to hold you down. They're your pillars. And then And then lastly, hey, other than have one and we have too many mistresses and try to lie, oh, I was with my friends, went to the club, after that we just pass out the couch. No, there's no lying about anything. It's more than one. If one is not capable, you go to...
No, but I don't support that. Not even one. No, big no.
But why not?
Because it's... no, it doesn't... Like... But so you have... Then she is only to you? So does the women get to have 5 husbands too?
Can that work?
I'm just saying because...
Can she multiply numbers with 2 people?
Yeah, she can have 50,000 people. Yes.
When she's pregnant, how many times can she multiply?
No, not while she's pregnant.
But she can never fulfill the role as a woman when she's pregnant. But a man, he can always fulfill his role as a man. Naturally.
So where does the one of the 10 commandments, it says do not commit adultery? Where does that?
That's not adultery if you're all married. It's just not one wife, it's more than one.
No, actually, I want you to see Pastor Daryl's most recent. He on the women. It's in John, I think chapter 8, and he go up to Grand Valley Ministry group, and he talks about the woman being caught in adultery and the man bringing her to Jesus and say, look, she committed adultery, like, and then Jesus, and they did that to catch Jesus in the act, the Pharisees. So then Jesus' response was, he who has no sin cast the first stone. Nobody did, because they're all they've all had their sin.
So he was in the wrong crowd. The right crowd would have stoned him. If he was with Catholics, I'd be like, I just came from my confession. Stone that woman. No,
right, because they're saying, joking. Well, okay, the Bible says do not commit adultery, and here's this woman literally committing adultery, and they pull her and put her in front of Jesus, and it's not. Yeah, it's not about yes, it's about the physical act, but it's also, you can commit adultery in your heart. You don't gotta be in a bedroom to commit adultery. You can commit adultery just like that same thing with lust. Like
okay, so lust do you think lust is a bad thing?
Yes.
Why is it a bad thing?
Because Jesus, like, you're not...
No. Okay, now let's remove Jesus or even what the Bible say. Let's just look at lust from a natural perspective.
Because this is if you are married.
Why is lust wrong?
It's bad. If it's wrong if you're married and you're looking at another woman lustfully. Like,
okay, no. Let's define lust. Well, how do you define lust?
Looking at a woman that you should not be looking.
What do you mean? Okay. Let me give you an example.
And I don't know you. You're visualizing her in your mind.
I don't know you. You walking by, I'm like, God damn, she must be Ethiopian. Wow, she's cute.
You could admire a woman's beauty.
But what do you think when I say God? No.
But the issue is then men stare and start to visualize the women physically. That's where becomes a problem.
But that's what I'm trying to get.
That's lust in your heart. No, I can't know that you're lusting. God does.
I don't think. Why the mental? What would be lust look like for women?
Same.
Do you look at men like naked?
No.
Do you think women do that?
Not as much, because they're not as visual creatures like men are.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's the same thing I'm trying to say. It's not necessarily that lust is wrong. It's our biological signal. Right,
she looks pretty and she's a
not just from a pretty. Let's even look from a deeper level. It's more that, like, the whole idea, be fruitful, multiply, number. Right. It's that commandment within your DNA. That's it. Like, almost like indicating, like, that's somebody who is capable of procreate with. So pretty much your body's telling you that some potential.
No.
That is absolutely what I think lust is in our bodies.
No.
It's a biological signal. For us men especially.
Right, because like I said, you guys are visual creatures, so... But the difference is just like... Okay, look, this... I'll give you an example using lust. For that are couple that are married, they're both out and about, and just because, and the man looks, it's like, oh wow, she's pretty, but I think the women the woman that's married to him, like, yeah, you can admire, okay, wow, I just passed a lady that's the woman that's pretty. Like, I don't think the girl that's married to him has an issue because but the woman is gonna have an issue when again he's doing this and is like and continues staring.
You really think
because
you dating a guy? You are dating a guy.
No,
a guy looks at the woman and is like, God damn, babe, that woman is gorgeous.
That's a problem. Don't tell me like that you just saw a girl that's potentially more pretty than me.
You just said that dating couple or dating.
No, not dating. I said married.
We're married and tell that woman is pretty.
Like he's gonna see it, and if he's not like she might see her, but that's not the issue because both know in a healthy marriage and those like you both know that hey, there are people, beauty is a spectrum. There is someone that hey, there's gonna be someone that's more hotter than the guy that I'm married to.
I'm a 10 to some people and I'm a 2 to some.
No, the same. So for the guy it's like, well, you know what, beauty is this, and yeah, like for him, the girl that she married is like, wow, she's the most beautiful person to me, so I'm gonna marry her. That's not the issue. But like because beauty is a spectrum both for the male and the female, the problem is not that okay, we're walking holding hands and the guy happens to see another pretty girl that's maybe prettier than me. The issue is not that he saw her because they look, but he's not actively looking for her and he's not actively looking for someone that's more prettier than my wife so I can go sleep with her.
Yeah, but most guys are not just out there just thinking like, who am I gonna fuck?
Right.
No, they just like, I'll give you an example. The same scenario. Let's just say you are married or single. Yeah, you are married or single. You are out there. Let's say we are visual people. Now, now let's just say we are naturally visual. Now
that's a fact.
And we love women, do we? Is that a fact or not?
Okay.
Now, what do you think will look when you want to look? Like, if you name three places where guys would look first, what do you think they would look first?
The stereotypical shit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So I'm not gonna look at the woman on the side.
It's about the face. I think the issue is like, because for me, it's like, yeah, we all can have a beautiful body, but it's like a lot of them are looking for that things that you are implying. But
no, it's not even. I don't
okay, can we move on? Because this is a freaking circus, and we are done. You've made your piece, and I've made my piece, and we're moving on to the next point.
All right, question. What is a woman?
A woman is someone that can give birth. That defines a woman. A man cannot give birth.
Also, would you say trans men are not real women?
No.
Nice.
Because I literally saw a video, like it was a TikTok video or whatever. This gay couple, I don't know how they got the baby, but she was like, the guy, he's obviously the woman in the role, and he's crying like the man, and it looks very recorded. It doesn't feel genuine cry. It's not genuine cry, like, and so he's like, oh, the baby's not latching on. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why? Because you don't have real boobs that the milk is coming out of. So how the frick do you expect the baby to latch on? Like, and obviously, so a transgender man is a woman that's born biologically female with a vagina and ability to give birth, and they've taken male hormones to make them start growing the facial beards, to I don't know what the other types of hormones that are out there to help them transition so that they can be the gender that they want to express. Because gender is an outward expression of your biological sex. So sex and gender, they're not the same. Because once, like back in, back in history, it was not, was not culturally acceptable, and there was less freedom to express your gender more. Now today it's a whole spectrum, and so there are different ways you can experiment with makeup and costume and dress and all that to express your gender. But now the problem is society is attacking biology. Biology was once upon a time objective, and now they're saying biology is subjective by saying that, well, look, I'm a man now, and like a lot of these conservative talk hosts are saying, okay, well, can you give birth? And it's making it's kind of shaming women, and it's like making fun of how hard women have come in this day and age, from being the housewife to where they are the whole under the umbrella of the modern women. But it's just like it's hurting society, and it's hurting women more than, because now wait, a man is competing to be me, that I don't get to, that I have to suffer with the cramps and all of that comes with it. And it's like, wait a minute, you can't. And and the issue is a lot of these beauty products, like it's Calvin Klein and Ulta or other ones that have a biologically male person, and they are now the face of women for these products. Yes.
Yeah, that is.
How problematic is that? Because they're not biologically women. So how do you have a man that's dressed like Kylie Jenner is it's a man, but
Wonder Woman of the Year.
Right. That women should be outraged and should be protesting this nonsense. But yeah, how is it, like, what? Because you've done surgeries to make yourself look like a woman, and therefore that's your gender, because your gender is your freedom to express however you please.
And you think that's okay?
It is okay. But I don't have to like hop on that bandwagon with you. I don't gotta agree with it. Now I'm not gonna hate you for it, and I'm not gonna be like hateful towards you, and but that does not mean I have to adhere to your.
Oh, yeah. So for example, if I ask you to address me Xin, that's my pronouns. Would you address me like that or no?
No.
How come?
Because that's crazy. Okay, let's address the whole pronouns. Because now there's like there's TikTokers that are saying my pronouns are like XZ, XR. Yes.
Zam, zim, zam, zam.
Yes. What? But so the whole, and just redefining grammar. Like, oh, my pronouns is they, them, and their. And it's saying, well, there's one person that said, well, okay, how do you use that without changing the tense of the grammar word? And they're like, well, they are going to the store. You're still, but they're like, but I'm using they in the plural, but you're the singular. You're a singular individual, but the understanding is I'm still using they, them in the plural tense to address the singular person. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's crazy, because it's only you. It's only you.
Disobeying the rules of language only to address you.
Right, but it's only you. So why am I saying they are going to the store? Because in that sentence, you know that, oh, there's more than one person, but it's just you here.
Yeah, it's like, where's John? Oh, they went to upstairs.
And then think about, okay, and then again, these conservatives, I swear, I think I'm conservative.
I don't even know what I am. I'm a person.
Because right now so he said this conservative, he's a lawyer, and he says, okay, so using, because he goes to these colleges and a lot of them are they're them that are asking this question to him.
Them people.
Right, and just the whole LGBTQ, and I'm not bashing that community, let me be clear. I'm asking why. And so then
a couple of gang members from that.
So he says, okay, he's a male conservative, all of the traditions, all of that. So he says, okay, if your pronouns are they and them, he said, well, I'm gonna have my own adjectives. You can only address me as handsome, brilliant, and smart.
Technically, yeah.
Doesn't that sound crazy? Okay, do straight people get their own adjectives then? Because you gave yourself your own pronouns.
Technically, yeah.
So, okay, you cannot call me Samra. You have to say smart, driven, beautiful, like...
Yeah, I think, like, sometimes, like, there's so much confusion between gender, sex, and...
Right.
And the organ and the sex itself, the expression of sex itself.
Like the X, Y, and XX chromosome? Like that?
No. Okay, so there's the gender XY chromosome.
Yeah.
And then there is the expression as in like, oh, I want to mess around with guys or females. The sexual expression part.
Right.
Yeah. And then there is the gender where I'm going to be Zim or Zam.
Yeah.
I think people mix, so they'll be like, so let's say I'm bisexual.
Or I'm pansexual,
yeah.
So I'm attracted to the person and not the sex.
The sex. And then also I'm attracted to people who speak like psychological majors, like they are very intellectual, blah blah. So I'm gonna make pronoun based on these attractions of mine, or this personality. I think that's how.
Right, because then the thing, I think one college LGBTQ group said, well, he made the point of intersex. That's what intersex is, when you're born with both, and. So then...
And you actually knew a person who was born with weird sex organs.
Right, that's what intersex is. But they still adhere to one of the spectrums.
Biologically.
No, biologically they're that, intersex, so they have both. But in terms of how they express themselves, they still adhere to either they're going to go feel the male, they're going to go with the male, or they're going to go with the female. Correct. So that is like, and that's also very rare statistic.
It is
very rare. So it's just like what this whole transgenderism is doing is hurting our women. It's hurting women, and it's hurting society. It really is. Yes, because now it's just these young folks. Just like.
Do you think it's?
Okay, I have a question. Do you believe the parents should let their kids transition?
What? How old is the kid?
Like they're under 18. Children are under 18, so
No. If you're under 18, you're still no.
So you don't think the parents should?
No, you can express yourself the way you want, but you're not transitioning. No.
Actually, it's very unethical.
If you're under 18, like for example, if you come under 18, for example, if I'm being honest, if I have to be honest with my daughter,
right?
Like, hey dad, can I have a boyfriend? Are you 18? No. Alright, go sit in the house. Go study. What do you need a boyfriend for? You can't get married right now. What do you need it for?
No, that's not the question.
No, but I'm just saying it's the same. It's the same
right,
equivalent.
Right.
Do you think homosexuality to sexuality is equivalent to mental health, is to whatever we
gender
call
dysphoria?
I don't know. Why are you using big words? You know I don't use big words. The heck? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, so homosexuality to sexuality. In comparison, homosexuality, it's almost like the abnormal of the normal sexuality. Does that make sense though? Like, okay, no matter what generation you are in, if you are homosexual, even if dogs, if you had another male dog humping another male, they'd be like, that dog is behaving weird. I'm just saying, like, so even person with bipolar is, they're still people. They're still, but I'm just saying, do you think it's equivalent to that? Like homosexuality could be the mental health of sexuality.
I don't know enough. Like, again, I haven't done my due diligence on what causes homosexuality, or what in the brain or in the culture that makes a man attracted to man and women attracted to women. I want to know what, if it's brain, is it studied, is it culture, like I don't know what it is.
Yeah, for me it's like one of the things that I normally look at and try to look at nature. What is nature looking
Right.
like? Because you do see the behavior in dogs, mammal, but like
It's nowhere. Yeah, they don't. You don't see. Yeah, the same gender in other species.
they do.
They do.
They do.
Where?
They do. I promise you, they do. We have dogs at home. They do. Like for example, Fifi will harm the male dog to show him the dominance.
Like, but that's so you're saying male dogs and male dogs fighting for dominance?
They'll hump each other, yeah. Or even there's even other animals who also behave in such a way. Another thing I look to is kids. If I look at the guy or a girl kid and you're just like, they're still like 4, 3, or maybe even young, and
That's
you're just like,
confusing for kids too.
yeah, and you're just like, oh, look at this kid is a lot of juicy, a lot of fruity, whatever they call them.
Right.
And so with that sometimes to me it's kind of come out like maybe, to me it seems biological.
Right.
It seems biological. We get what we get.
But yeah, no, it's very. I believe it's unethical for the parents to let the children transition under 18, because look, there's tomboys. Like those are girls who dress up like more like boys. But majority of the tomboys, they never have a reason to change by their biology. They still know that they're girls, and but
could it be possible that most tomboys were tomboys only because they only they had the option to be tomboys, and now you have the option to be actually.
I know I know there were girls that were considered tomboys in high school, and they're like not tomboys, they're feminine and women.
Yeah, I have somebody very close to me, like very very like family member. She's female. She's married now with 3, 4 kids. When we were younger, maybe I was 7, 6.
Because I think part of Because I think part of the whole tomboy is, maybe we're not wanting to be that girly, like the makeup and the dress, and that's what attracts girls to be tomboy, and a lot of them are like sports. That goes like, and I'm not saying girlies can't play sports, but a lot of the tomboys are very are into sports and are not into this let's do nails and be pretty girly.
But could that be just it's because they were born with more of a masculine energy within them?
I don't know.
Don't you think that is more
but they don't continue that though.
The tomboy phase?
It's a phase. They outgrow it.
I mean, at some point, I feel like if you start from a young age, and then you turn out into as a tomboy, they turn out into a stud, or you have a change phase.
They don't turn into like man. Most of them are not going to the doctor so they can become a man.
Yeah, I call them studs. Who look sometimes more manly than men.
We're covered gender and sex a lot.
I know.
It's a sticky topic.
I know. What do you think of sex before marriage?
No, because kids happen that way. Obviously, I know there are contraceptives. I know there's birth control, but you still can get pregnant with even those.
Let's just say an example. You are dating a guy. You are 2 months in. You realize he wants. How long do you want to make him wait? Do you think?
He needs to put a ring on it.
For real? I think okay. I want to say something crazy.
Because look, wait. So back in the 50s, like today, dating is so hard. It's so hard to date today because of social media. In the 50s, men. There was not this game. Oh, does she like me? Well, I can't be assertive because if she knows she likes me, then I'm less attractive. So, but I also can't be an asshole. But it's just this game. There's this game with dating.
It's almost like a playground.
Yes, that did not exist once upon a time in the 50s because
They didn't have that much option.
right, there was, Joe, there's only one Joe in your little town. Or it's like if you wanted to date, you find them in church or you find them in your school, but
then
that
you
was
have a mistress at work.
right. But
Yes,
there was a cultural standard and expectation for both. That okay, girls, once you're 18 or you graduate high school, you are to be married and raise a family. And men, it's like that was also a time where they didn't have to go to college and all of that, and they could get a job that actually provided and supported the family fully. So yes, we gotta address that, but at the end of the day, dating is boy meets girl. So why are we trying to change the chemistry and the process of getting to dating and then dating with the intention of marriage? And that's the problem. Marriage is not an expectation today. Because, and today the point that a lot of men are saying, well, I don't want to get married, because the man has a lot more to lose than the women. Because the guy, well, he's got to lose 50% of his stuff. And if there's a kid, now he got to pay child support. Now the women, she got the government to back her up. That she's going to get married to the government after her man leaves. And she's going to get this child support and she's going to get 50% of his stuff.
Which encourages more, again, breaking the family nuclear.
So, right. And it's like women these days have a backup plan. Well, if I get a divorce, but why is divorce an option? Divorce is the highest it has ever been in this country.
But also, do you think also it has to do with not because divorce has gotten high, because people are doing more career stuff,
and there's not that cultural standard anymore that we are all adhering to.
But also, could it be that women are more empowered?
Absolutely, yes, I understand that. But why are they more empowered now?
In the same way that, because in a way, when you go back to the olden days, women were doing the bare minimum. Yeah, no. In terms of outside their home, they were doing everything at home.
Right, because culturally they could not work.
Yeah, and so with that, it was easier to keep your family together. Now the man though was still doing the same thing that the men are doing.
The sole and full financial provider.
Yes, but the man was still doing the very same things that men today do. Just that women back then were not exposed to what men were doing.
Oh no, they knew.
I mean, they knew. I knew that mistress, but she's over town. You will not know a girl from another town.
The whole adultery and mistress thing is that's always been part of.
That's because you deny us our women. We want more than one wife.
That's always been part of the downfall.
If you don't give us
since
look,
day one.
It's like this: you get married to a guy, give him 5 years together with you, call for another woman to come help you deal with him, and now you have a best friend in the marriage. Come on. Right. Actually, now talk about marriage. See how I want 5 wives, right? I want one of them to be a lesbian. One of them, just one of them. So she can keep the balance. When she can make sure my other wives she understands both. So that's all I have to say. Dear wives over there.
But
I'm a good man.
And then obviously but I think most women don't want to be the strong and the independent and all that. They don't, and they want to be submissive. But they can't be all of that because they weren't raised by men, and you weren't raised by wives. So how the fuck do you know what it means to be a wife if you didn't have that role model as so it's like, what do you mean you know what you bring to the table and you know what it's, because like, okay, how many people have today, how many women can say, you know what, I have all these recipes that are in my family that I'm gonna carry on into my tradition? No. Like a physical cookbook. Doesn't exist.
Probably the one they bought from the store, if they have.
Right. But that was what defined a wife back then. And like, and because the women, the feminist movement has done more damage. Yes. From a family standpoint, it has done more damage. Now, for the individual woman, yes, it has made us more empowered. It's made us more career driven and say, hey, I want to do more to contribute to society. There's nothing wrong with it, and the feminist movement did that. But also, we never look at the backlash of all these progressive things that has happened.
It's harm, but the thing is, it's also like one of those things, like the Western society has Christianity, for an example, for a very long time, right? But then Christianity, and then we have the rise of science. Let's just, for example, we have the rise of science,
right?
And then all of a sudden, the rise of science is nice, it's good for the people, but I don't know, people start walking out of the church because now all of a sudden they don't want to, they become atheists. There's any empowerment that empower an individual that are almost like seen as a minority will become disruptive to the current structure that is already at work. And so maybe it might have done more harm, but in the long run, I think it might push humanity to a better place. Because then a woman is not limited to who she can become.
Right, that's not that's the that's I already stated.
Yeah, you already
stated that's
and I agree.
The positive of the feminist movement was it said, hey, actually women can contribute more to society than just being wives and cooking for the man that comes home. But at the same time, the consequence of the feminist movement has been, well, now women don't want to be housewife because housewife was seen as like an oppressive system back in the day. It was not an oppressive system.
It was not an oppressive system.
That was the way of life because they can you go hunt for during the hunters and gatherers era? No, you can't go hunt.
And the time of factories, it was different. They I don't know. It's just like.
But the issue is, I think, because obviously, like, our society is gonna change because now AI is the threat, and like the issue is not we once upon a time we were hunters and gatherers, and the husband literally had to go kill the deer for us to have food. So as society progresses, as human beings progress via science and ways to make food more efficient, and we don't need to rely on these wild animals anymore. So that's not the problem, because that's time. Time is always, it's going to progress forward, and it's going to most likely increase in technology and all of that. That's the natural process of society progressing. Now, what we have an issue is when, how can society progress, but our morals and our standards are also progressing, but actually regressing. It's like, progressive leads to regressivism.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, life is very circular.
But it's just like there's no risk today. Young people, both girls and boys, young people don't know how to they don't respect their elders today. They don't respect someone in authority, whether it's a classroom teacher. They're like crazy because who's raising these kids? They're not raised to be disciplined. Like, they grow up with phones.
Independent thought.
Yes, and it's just like, so if, and people, today's discipline of kids is, I'm going to take your screen time away from you. And then they have
And just the way of discipline is different. I'll give you an example. One of on the white side of the family, my cousin, when I say she's...
Is it recording?
Yeah. She's like 11 on the other side. She's like 11. When they call her like, hey, Bianca, come here. Bianca, like a dad would call her. What? See, in an African home, or not just an African, that's stereotype, but where I grew up, that was a no-no. Even in Swahili, I'm not even saying in English what, in Swahili, Nini. Yeah. It was a no-no. But, and I know for a fact, the little cousin, she doesn't mean it in disrespect. It's just the way she's always.
Right.
It's what do you want? Or what can I do for you? Pretty much almost like that's what she means to do. And that's how she's communicating. And it's been allowed to be like that in a while.
And a lot of it, we've lost our morality as a culture, as a society. And we don't see leaders today. So these young people don't have like a Dr. King to look up to. Like like who are leaders like Dr. King today? I don't know.
No, I mean, all they can't be that there are too many leaders. So there is no way. It's become hard on who to follow.
Right, but it's not about that either. It's about this generation is following blindly, because they have the platform. Okay, well, if you have that platform, you are in a position of leadership.
Yeah, but also I think I'll give an example. Martin Luther King, for example.
Right.
We always look at him. We can look at him from a leadership, or he did great things as a leader, blah blah. But also we never know. We only know him from the platform too. Right. We never know what went behind the scene. Maybe he was a CIA agent. Maybe the whole time he was in jail, was going through training with CIA. We don't know that.
But he's also an individual.
Yeah, but we're gonna just take him for the grain of salt that he was a good leader and that he was a great leader.
Because somebody made that argument.
That he could have worked for CIA?
No, saying decimating his character and the impact that he did. Well, because you don't know if he was I'm
not trying to take that away. I'm just saying.
Right, but we do this with leaders.
Black leaders.
Yes, we do that to them, saying, well, okay, just because he's also a sinful individual at the end of the day. He's fallen like us too, but it's like, don't negate the impact he made because he's made bad choices that hurt his family that we didn't see.
Oh yeah, those I'm not looking at those. I'm more looking like, for example, like in one way could telling black people like, let's say this direction for freedom or blah blah. Right. But this could be what the agenda of the government wanted him to do, and he had to play that role so perfect. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying.
I don't think that's the case for Dr. King.
Yeah, it couldn't. It might not be the case, but it is not the case. But what I'm saying is like, it couldn't possibly be the way life is on Earth.
Right. There's always
the truth might not be. It might not be what it seems to be.
Because today, like, okay, who are the Kanye which actually he is challenging the status quo, and making all these controversial statements, and he didn't make those statements to be hateful to a specific group, like the anti-Jewish.
Yeah, Jewish. Yeah.
And he had a point. And it's just like, okay, how he said it did come across as attacking their group, but he is also making a statement saying like the Jewish, they control the society. They are the business. They are the business leaders. They are the bankers. They are the ones that are running our education system. Like, hello, McGraw. Textbooks. That's Jewish name.
Like most things. Yeah.
And like I think
the computer systems.
Right. It's the Jewish one. America. But it's not. That's not being anti-Semitic. No. That's stating a fact because they're also excellent business people.
And also, other thing too, it's just not like there's life in terms of like truth. There's always layers and layers.
Of course,
and
if you're in a position of power and there's politics, of course, there's always an alternative motive.
Another thing too with Kanye West, for example, I'll give you an example. Here we might be like, Kanye West is challenging the theory, he's calling this. He could actually be doing them an advertisement without you knowing. We think Kanye West is being blah, blah, but it actually could be playing a role in what he's doing. But because
he literally lost his billionaire status.
Yeah, just within a month. And then what I'm saying is, and he can also gain it.
Once upon a time, he because his business, his sneaker line, and all of his business was controlled by Adidas. He had to be careful what he said, because if you say something that goes against, Adidas will drop your shit like that. That's what happened, because he said he had one. I don't know if it was Nike or somebody else, but a lot of how he lived. It didn't align, so they couldn't continue with him. So he said Adidas was the one that they that he could work with. But like he's making a statement, and it's just like, and the whole White Lives Matter thing. It's like, yes, part of it is I do think he wants that reaction, and he feels that he wants that attention. Yes, it's that attention, but it's like. But think about it. That's like the White Lives Matter t-shirt fashion with Candace Owen, who's a black conservative.
I'll make him a baby mama too.
Right, but like, why is everybody triggered by that statement? White Lives Matter. It's a fact. But it's like, but I think what outrages the public is because we've been, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, so it felt like it was targeting that progression and that hard work and movement, and it's like, well, he made a simple fact and we don't blink twice because we accept it. We accept, yes, the White Lives Matter, so therefore we don't treat them like as if their lives don't matter. And
so there's no point of even saying White Lives Matter.
Correct. But for it to be out there on a t-shirt like that and to make such a public statement like that was like it's
a statement against something.
Right, like, and he's not against that, like, it's not what the public, like, at first face value what was getting that reaction. It's like he's just making a simple plain statement, then actually should open your eyes. Because true. We accept it as, well, duh, of course their lives matter, so they're treated with dignity and respect. And the whole why the Black Lives Matter is like, well, because we're discrimination and X, Y, and Z. And that's actually a problem. Like, the Black Lives Matter, that statement is not a problem. The movement is a scam. Because
that I agree. I don't even know it's a scam. It could be corrupt. Maybe corrupt. Maybe it might be
because they bought houses. Where's the money going to fund the money that's being donated to Black Lives Matter movement or organization? It's not being It's not given back to the black community.
It's funny, those families who are working in those organizations.
They're literally I saw this. They bought like these.
You didn't live in Africa, huh? You didn't live in Africa, huh? That's what happened with the African government money. All their children are overseas. They have children overseas. They are studying at big universities.
They bought like these $1 billion homes and hired their cousins to run and pay them to run it. And they're using the public's money to fund their personal agenda in the name of Black Lives Matter. But I'm like, people are giving to Black Lives Matter movement thinking that it's going back to the black community. Yeah, or like to the Floyd family. Like,
they got enough money.
No, that's a fact though.
That's what people are thinking.
They didn't do that for him or other ones. Because that's what I would think if I'm the face and the founder of Black Lives Matter, is and I have all these money that are being donated by the public, well, I'm going to give to the family and invest it back into the community. Yeah. That's not what they're doing. It's their personal agenda and making themselves wealthy in the name of Black Lives Matter.
Hey, somebody gotta eat. If there was a question you'd have loved to be asked, what would that question be, and what would have been your answer?
I don't know, regarding
anything. This is something you have in your heart you love to share, like something you'd have loved if a question you had a question about it or something.
Why does my bluntness offend people? Like, in general.
Why do you think is that?
Because, like, I've been told I'm too blunt or I'm an agitator. I embrace that.
Are you a Sagittarius?
What does that got to do with it? That's not legitimate. You. No, I don't even know because my real birthday is not even my real birthday. Thanks to Africa.
See, you might
and
be
adoption.
She might be a Sagittarius. She just doesn't believe it's real.
It's not real. Because I was born in May and I'm a Taurus, and at face value, yeah, but no, somebody said I'm not a Taurus. So.
You're a Sagittarius. I just told you.
I'm Aries.
Now you're just choosing, bro. Now this is more like pronouns. I'm beginning to sound like pronouns. I'm Aries. Pronoun address me as Aries.
But yeah, because we've become this soft people where, oh, I gotta be careful what I say because I could offend you and I could hurt your feelings. And my job is not to make sure that your feelings are not hurt, because the truth hurts.
Yeah. And also the thing too is like, it's one of those things, like one of this, respect everybody's belief, right?
Right. I do.
But now the question becomes, now can a homosexual respect the homophobe's belief?
I think no, because the issue with that is, for me, I'm not, like I said, I'm not God. I'm not here to judge, to say, hey, you shouldn't live like that.
We're just talking about, remove the God part. We're just talking about beliefs, just beliefs in general. Like, the guy is like, I believe that's wrong. I believe that freaking disgusting men should be bending men over. Women should be bending women over.
Engage in the conversation then.
Yeah.
But people are not willing to engage civil in a civil way. And it's like, they don't know how to listen, or they listen with intent to respond. So you're not listening to me and hearing me. You're only listening to my words so that you got your rebuttal going for you, or you know how to shoot down my truth. And so today we don't know how to engage constructively in a simple discourse. Like, the issues, we're human beings. We have our own different lived beliefs and ways of living, and it's like, disagreements is a part of life. The issue is with today, and because of politics, we don't know how to have a civil disagreement and be like, and still be respectful to each other. And oftentimes we to get violent, and we need security to come rescue us. So that's the issue. Like, with the homosexual, like, okay, homosexual people that engaging in that capacity. Now, if I don't believe in it because, well, my religion doesn't support that, I'm like, okay, that's my personal belief, but that's not their belief. So for me, it's like, I don't gotta, like, jump onto that bandwagon, just like this whole non-binary and transgender. Like, I know the truth, and I know the objective truth when it comes to sex and gender, but it doesn't mean that I have to be hateful towards you, like, verbally and physically. It just means, you know what, that's their belief, and that's fine.
All right. Now question: a preacher goes to a university campus and start preaching about, if you homosexual won't make it to heaven. They just say that's the topic. Because it's not from God. God wants you to get saved so that Jesus can save you from this homosexual act of sin, blah, 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 life of sin, blah, blah. Is that person morally right for doing that?
For telling the young folks to not engage in that way? Or
yeah, just to go there and speak against homosexuality publicly.
Oh, against...
In how we say judgment, don't judge people, whatever beliefs. Is that judgment, or do you see that as normal? Because he's acting on his beliefs. He believes he's doing the right thing.
We're all, but that's the issue. We're all acting on our beliefs, on our own belief. The politician is, the lawyer is, the janitor is, everybody, because we're all human. Now there's a group of us that adhere to this certain belief system, and there's a group that has verged off of and have created their own reality. That's what the whole gender and sex is like. There's this new redefining reality, and like, that doesn't mean I gotta indulge in it. In your reality, that's not the public's reality. That is true. Like, I can, you know what? I'm just gonna stay away.
But would you encourage people to acknowledge? Not necessarily to...
Not acknowledge, I ask them why. Why do they believe in what they believe?
And they just explain to you.
They explain, and okay, and if it's different than mine, because I'm not asking a Muslim person, why do you believe that Jesus didn't die on the cross, or that or he's not the Messiah? I'm gonna engage with a Muslim to understand, why do you believe in the Quran, and why do you believe that Muhammad was the messenger, and all of that. Like, help me understand your religion. And it's like, but you have to be okay with my pushback, because I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe in the Bible is the true word of God, and there's no other religion that's legitimate. So, but that's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna ask why you believe in the Quran, and you're gonna ask me why do I believe in the Bible. And obviously we need to be able to engage in that discourse and then come to the whole disagree to agree. And then that's a cop-out phrase too, because it's just, no, we don't gotta disagree to agree. We gotta respect each other's belief, and after you've explained your belief and I explained my belief and we've done our rightful pushbacks, and if we still don't come to an agreement that there is gender is binary, then it's like,
what does it mean to be gender to be binary anyway?
the whole not just saying gender is a spectrum today. It's non-binary. Binary means like male and female. That's binary. So they're saying a lot of them are, when they say I'm non-binary, they're not
somewhere in between.
Yes, they're saying it's a spectrum. That's, gender is not a spectrum. Race is a spectrum. That makes sense, because you could see the skin color, the like from the sun's exposure. Dark African people, because they're more exposed to the sun, and then white people, which are from Europe, and and the whole. Actually, there's a video on Jane Elliott does. She said everybody came from black women. Yes, white people came from black women.
Yeah, I mean, like, color is a spectrum.
Yeah.
Is a spectrum. But again, also, maybe all things in life might be a spectrum, but we just don't see it. We see them as binary. Let me explain myself. There is heat and then there is cold. Let's use that as a temperature. Now, this is a heat, cold. When does heat start and when does cold start? And what do we call the things in between? So I think the same way of gender. That we have defined things. We have defined things like, obviously, I'm a man, right?
But the issue is you cannot, using that analogy, let's gravity and physics. Just because I want to say, well, actually gravity doesn't exist, and I'm going to believe everything is floating, gravity's still gravity.
Yeah, gravity's still gravity.
Like, that's same with sex and same with sex.
Yeah, okay, again, sex is the organ. The organ is there, but the gender, I view it almost gender like the mind of sex.
We have already established that. We said gender is the outward expression. And it can be freely expressed.
So, which is, I think
but the issue with it is they're trying to redefine biology and change science. And that's the issue. The problem is not that you biologically man can't dress like a girl. That's not the issue. That's gender. Gender is the outward expression of whatever, if it aligns with what you're born with.
And that is, do you think that is true?
Yes. Okay. Like, I'm not, but they're trying to redefine biology, basic human DNA. They're trying to argue that. Like, that's where it's becoming problematic today. And we've also, like, we made it more because we're a progressive society, and there's more ways to express your gender, where now it's like that's also creating discourse for the public too. And that was never, like, again, once in the 50s there was not a lot of ways to be creative in expressing your gender, so your sex and gender were the same for the most part.
Do you think it's ever going to get complicated to a point where a straight person will be discriminated for choosing to date the LGBT community? Do you think we'll reach to that point?
It's not beyond me with this crazy society.
Alright, to finish it feels like we were more a little bit negative on the LGBT community.
I know.
Alright, to finish with this, what are two things you think the LGBT community has helped society with?
Making society more accepting. Like being more accepting of other cultures and trying to be less prejudiced. As soon as you see someone's race, you're gonna automatically think the stereotypes. in that way. And I like maybe ability to talk about more, like to have open dialogue with the whole, mental health. That's a whole segment of its own. And saying celebrities using their platform to say, you know what, I see a therapist and that's okay, like, but that's absurd. Like, a celebrity has to tell me that I shouldn't feel shameful to want to see a professional to talk about my childhood trauma. Like, and so, yeah. But we're making progress and making mental health as a health. They are. It is.
I think we're going to close with that.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. Thank you for keeping up with us. I hope you enjoyed it. We might have part 2. Because I feel like we had a lot to discuss. We never got to them. We had a lot. There were things that were just a little too edgy. So we're just like, but you might get back. And this is your boy Foolish Tool. And your beautiful Sandra. Thank you for listening. And peace out. Thank you. Alrighty.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, your phone could not record.